All right, today we're going to look at top results on Google for Bakuchiol and why Youth Nectar is superior to all of them. So from the search results, these are probably your two cleanest options out there. One of them is actually what I was using prior to developing my own. So these are clean formulas and it's all great and dandy. But the thing about Bakuchiol is that the max use percentage is 2%. So what are these brands doing with the other 98%? And what you're seeing here is really these brands have chosen to put in some relatively inexpensive carrier oils and call it a day. Now these are nice oils. There's nothing wrong with these oils, but let me tell you, they aren't that expensive. I can tell you that the oils in Youth Nectar are 2 to 3 times more expensive than the oils that they have chosen for these formulas. And one of these brands is charging $88 for half an ounce. That is half of the product in Youth Nectar. So you multiply that, that's $176. And then this next option is $55. I think that's a little bit more reasonable for a quality Bakuchiol, but again, not optimized, using oils that are 2 to 3 times cheaper than the oils that I'm using in my formula, and my product is still much more less expensive. Next, now this next one I've seen recommended before in the Facebook group, but unfortunately this is not real Bakuchiol. And if you saw my other video on how to spot fakes, this is a prime example. So if you see here, the full ingredients list is just the Bakuchi oil. But how can that be? Because you can only use Bakuchiol at 2%. Well, that's because this is not purified Bakuchiol. What they have done here is just taken the Bakuchi plant that can contain some Bakuchiol compounds and bottled it up, and they're selling it to you as Bakuchiol. Natural? Yes. Purified and effective? No. I do appreciate that they are at least in their recommendations telling you to wear your sunscreen with this, because again, if they're just taking the oil from the plant, that means it still contains the phototoxic compounds and it is not safe for use in the sun. This one's going to be a no. Next. Now this Bakuchiol here I found on Sephora, and this is probably the worst Bakuchiol out there. I do think they're using real Bakuchiol because of the inky name. However, look at all these unnecessary ingredients. This is loaded with petro ingredients, fragrance, and artificial dyes. You do not need those ingredients in your skincare, and they're being put in there purely for marketing purposes, just because, you know, some marketer said that if it smells nice, people will buy more of it, or if it's a pretty color, people will buy more of it. Do not fall for these marketing tactics. This adds nothing to the effectiveness of the product. And they are using my number one hated ingredient in skincare, which is silicones. Now, not all silicones are toxic. Some of them are perfectly safe, but they do not belong in skincare. I'm going to do another video for you guys going through silicones because they clog your pores and they add absolutely no benefit to your skin. They are in there for marketing purposes because they give the illusion that they have smoothed, you know, your fine lines and whatever, but it really didn't fix anything. It's a temporary fix. And while that might be helpful in, let's say, a makeup product, it is not helpful in your skincare because you don't need your skincare to be a temporary fix. You need your skincare to actually fix things. So this is going to be a no. Next. Now I have to say this one really confused me because it does say Bakuchiol in the ingredient list, but in the marketing for the product, they're not even highlighting Bakuchiol. They're only highlighting Bapchi extract, which if you saw my video on fakes, Bapchi extract is not Bakuchiol. It's another part of the plant and not the effective compounds. Then in the ingredient list, they're listing both. They're listing the plant extract and then they're listing Bakuchiol. Why they wouldn't highlight Bakuchiol in their marketing, but then it's in their ingredient list along with the plant name, this overall was just a very, very confusing. At first glance, I wouldn't trust it, so next. Here are some other ones from the search results. Most of these are available on Sephora. All of these are water-based. Now, water-based products do belong in your skincare routine. However, Bakuchiol is oil-soluble. So when you put it in a water-based formula, you're going to have to add emulsifiers and preservatives. So actually, most of these would not make it onto my shop because they do use ingredients on my no-no list. But for Bakuchiol, I say work with the plant, work with the ingredient. If it's oil-soluble, put it in an oil formula. There are so many actives out there that are water soluble. Reserve those for the water-based formulas, and Bakuchiol you're going to want in an oil formula. Just my personal opinion. Now, what I think is special about Youth Nectar is that I didn't just think about the 2% Bakuchiol, I thought about the other 98%. So I have chosen oils that are compatible with your skin and that are all non-comedogenic and vegan. This is 100% natural and optimized for aging skin. Highly recommend it. I'd say this one goes to the top of this list.